It's up to you, New York, New York.
All right, we are back. Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, with my good friend, Mr. Corey Rain, originally from the
What's
Hudson
up?
Valley, now in
Yes, sir.
Hollywood, Florida. Welcome back, Corey. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Sunday.
Yeah, brother. Happy Sunday. Some good weather today. Gotta say, man, sky's beautiful. Got a lot of work done today. Got to go get freshened up. Look like another, look like a human again. As I was looking, looking a little rough. I had to get clipped up
Got a
at
shave and everything.
oh yeah, all that good stuff. J&L Barbershop, Orange Avenue in Orlando. Definitely see those guys. They are
Oh yeah.
awesome. Luis Helena, huge New York Yankees fan. We were chopping it up about the Dominican Republic USA game. Also, got some yard work done. So, yeah, a pretty good productive day. If you're wondering why Corey's here, it should be no mystery to anyone who's seen Corey on the show. We are doing the full MLB 2026 preview and prediction show. We are going division by division, and we're going to start up on the other side, as we are both Yankee fans, National League East. I'm dropping my picks. I told Corey, if you see anything on here that you're not feeling, by all means, rebuttal me. But I've got the National League East right here. Richie's predictions: New York Mets winning the division at 94 and 68. I've got the Atlanta Braves at 91 and 71. Philadelphia Phillies 88 and 74. Miami Marlins 76 and 86. The Washington Nationals 73 and 89.
I don't terribly disagree with this. I could see Atlanta winning the division. I wouldn't be shocked by that. They have some questions with their rotation depth, but
Okay.
I think if Acuna is healthy and they got everything flowing, I could see them winning the division. But I also wouldn't be surprised by the Mets. I think there's some things that need to go the Mets' way, though, just like a lot of teams. But, their bullpen has to come through, and is their lineup going to be deep enough and scary enough?
That's fair. I think that's
Yeah,
fair. I definitely think they lose something with Pete Alonso leaving the division. I think
right.
they lose something with Edwin Diaz leaving the division. But what I
Absolutely.
do like about this Mets team is I think that they're bringing in guys that are going to be better in OBP. And I think from a defensive standpoint, the Mets are going to be decent. Everybody associates the Mets with Juan Soto, and for good reason. But in my genuine opinion, I believe that this team goes as far as Francisco Lindor is down to take them. And I think Francisco Lindor
Yep.
has really, proven that he's in that next phase of his career as a legitimate everyday superstar and a guy who could lead a team. And I think that he's really the heartbeat of this team right now, especially with the departure of Alonso.
Absolutely, and also want to touch on the defense. Simeon, while he's not a good hitter anymore, he's one of the best defenders at his position.
No question.
I wonder where Bichette is going to play. That's going to be curious. Third base, maybe.
I think
I know
he's
he's
going
not
to make
playing
the
shortstop.
transition over to third. Yeah, similar to when A-Rod came over in favor of keeping the captain.
Right.
I'll tell you what, though. That's an acquisition I really like. People don't realize how
as
much the
do I.
Toronto Blue Jays are going to miss him.
I agree. That kid, I mean, as you know, you and I both saw him for the past, 5-6 years. And that kid can hit flat out.
No,
The
no
only
question.
question with him is health,
Yeah, I tend to agree. Devin Williams, Clay Holmes, two failed starters in New York. Holmes had some success. Williams really didn't with us. He's had a career success with Milwaukee. Hasn't quite recovered, in my opinion, over that home run that he served up to Pete Alonso. And,
Yep.
Maybe Act 2 in New York with a new team could alleviate some pressure. If anything that I can make a connection to as to why Williams could have a bounce back year, I would deem him more of a National League pitcher because, he was in with the Brewers and he was one of the
Do you
better
think
closers.
you can also argue that even though he's in New York again, that there's less pressure than with the Yankees?
Yeah, I would have to say so. And he was one of the guys that kind of was the first guy to push, the grooming situation. So when he was getting lit up, it was like a little more under a microscope. I mean, whenever you're a new Yankee and it's year one, and when you've been a tenured player elsewhere, guys have recovered after rocky year ones. I mean, look no further than the Rocket Roger Clemens. I mean, his first year in the Bronx, people were questioning if the Yankees made the wrong move trading
They
away
were.
David Wells.
Exactly, and I think his first year with the Yankees, his ERA was like 4.6.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not easy. Sometimes I think it does get overstated. Guys can't play in New York, quotation marks, but there's something to it. And if you remember Tino Martinez, he was bad his first month with the Yankees.
That's another good shout. Yes, I do recall that when Martinez first came over to the Yankees, and that was just anybody who would have filled in for a perennial fan favorite, Yankee legend Don Mattingly. It was not going to be an easy seat for a while until he won over the fans. But, Tino, I think where he really earned his pinstripes was when he caught that ball in the middle of the back from Armando Benitez, clearing out, a big-time brawl. And I think that was a moment that also galvanized that Yankee team.
Absolutely. And then, you flash forward to the World Series, the grand slam that just solidified everything for him, and he was just a pro. Like he just kept his head down and worked hard, never let the pressure get to him.
No, absolutely. You can't talk about the Mets without talking, of course, about Juan Soto, former Yankee, former Padre, former National. Recently, most recent action in the World Baseball Classic, Dominican Republic losing in controversial fashion to the U.S. How do you feel about Juan Soto? How do you feel about Juan Soto in year two with the Mets after securing that phenomenal bag?
I think he was great last year. I think he's in. Do I think he'll dethrone Ohtani? I don't know about that one. If Ohtani's healthy, I don't see him dethroning him. But I think he'll be right there in the discussion for MVP. He's going to have a great season. Yeah, I mean he's one of the best offensive players in baseball, or none.
No, absolutely, Corey. One of the values too with Juan Soto, similar to Aaron Judge, is that he's so good at drawing walks. He's very intimidating in the box because, similar to Judge, when Soto is really locked in, he hits to all fields. It took him a minute, I think, to figure out the dimensions of Citi Field, because down the lines, Citi Field is a bigger ballpark than Yankee Stadium. Um, another guy that it was a lot of pressure because you're getting the grandest contract in the history of the sport. And, with that comes a lot of pressure. People, I think, sometimes forget how young Juan Soto still is because he came up to the bigs at such a young age. This man's already played in 2 World Series, winning one of them with Washington, in a very weird World Series where only the road teams won, which almost never happens.
Very strange.
Yeah, strange year, for sure. But
he's like 27. He's only 27. Like,
yeah, it's crazy because I feel like Juan Soto's been playing in the bigs for about a decade because he's been playing in the bigs for about a decade. But it's it really is crazy. Kadai Senga definitely something to prove this year with this Mets team. He got pushed down to Triple-A after an excellent first half, a crummy second half. I think he has the tools. I think he just sometimes with pitchers, guys have to sometimes go through the ringer to get it back. But I do still have faith in Kadai Senga. And although not the best WBC, Nolan McLean is one of the best young stars pitching-wise.
That was actually one of the first times I saw McLean. I didn't see him much last year. I know he had like 11 starts last year. But yeah, his stuff is nasty. And yeah, it's all going to depend on health, just like it always does, right?
Absolutely. I do think they're going to miss Edwin Diaz at certain junctures of the year. He did have the best ERA amongst closers in the National League. But, you can't pay everybody. I think the one that's going to be tricky is Pete Alonso. Now, they did bring in Jorge Polanco. You mentioned Semien. They dealt Brandon Nimmo to Texas. I like that move on the level, to your point, of Semien being just a terrific infielder. Will the bat show up similar to a few years back in Texas? We shall see. But when you have a guy like Juan Soto in that lineup, guys like Frankie Lindor, you do have a propensity for possibly seeing better pitches. So, these are all things. What kind of year is Francisco Alvarez going to have? That's another thing with regard to this Met team. But when I look at them in the talent pool, it's not so much that I think that they are like going to be dominant on the level that they were a couple of years ago when they made an NLCS appearance. But I think there's enough holes around this division, whether we're talking Atlanta or Philly, where I still think the Mets should be better. So we're going to find out. I do have a hot take in this division. Of course, the grand question is who dethrones Ohtani, if anyone, for National League MVP? Of course, Juan Soto's the popular pick. Some people have even been saying maybe Bryce Harper turns it back and has a real year. I'm going with Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yes.
Venezuelan superstar, a guy that was regarded as possibly the best player in the National League a couple of years ago, and then unfortunately just had some real terrible injuries that could derail a career. But Acuna is back, and I think the Braves are trending upward. Schwellenbach coming off some injuries. I think he's going to be ready. Spencer Strider due for a bounce-back kind of year. And you have potential future Hall of Famer Chris Sale in that rotation. So
absolutely.
I don't think Atlanta is going to be hurting for pitching if at least 2 of those 3 guys have the right kind of year.
And I also, they had the Rookie of the Year last year also. But
yes, they did.
I think Acuna just needs to be healthy. It's needed for baseball. It's needed for fans. Like, he's just exciting,
100%.
And I think he's top 3 MVP candidate as well. Easily.
I think those are the 3. Soto, Ohtani, Acuna. There might be somebody that we don't see coming. I don't think Kyle Schwarber would get it for the sheer fact that he doesn't hit for average. Bryce Harper, maybe. And, this is the thing. That Dodger team is so stacked, you could see another Dodger emerge.
Yeah, but it's always the old argument that will they have, votes cancel each other out. People say that a lot, but I don't know.
No, there is some value to that. I don't know if I would call it a hot take, but another guy that, prior to the PED suspension was being propped up on a pedestal of like the Latino Derek Jeter. I'm talking about second-generation superstar Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres. I think he could potentially be due for a massive year. That's another talented team. We'll get to that division, but
Yes.
anything that you want to speak on related to the Phillies or any of these teams before we move it along?
I like. I kind of am with you on the Phillies. I think they're going to regress this year compared to the super contention status they've been the last 4 or 5 years.
For sure.
Yeah, they're going to be good still. They're not going to be chopped liver, but I think their run and their window is closing a bit.
I have a hot take regarding them. It's a suspicion of mine. It's more of a hot take by friend of the show, Richard Dorney, Mets superfan. I spoke to him a little bit ago. He believes that Bryce Harper this particular year might get dealt before the deadline because of the friction between he and Dave Dombrowski upstairs and what was deemed disrespect towards a guy who carried this organization for a good while. I would say it's a 50-50. I'm not clear and concise, like for sure, that Harper is going to finish the year in a Phillies uniform.
I could see it, honestly. And even if the Phillies are good, he could still get traded.
Yeah, it's valid. Of course, another guy, Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, we'll get to that division when we do, but another guy that could potentially be on the move. But it's a division that's worth watching. It's a division that I'm looking forward to seeing. And
competitive for sure. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I would not be the least bit surprised if the Braves turn around and win the division. But I think after the letdown that the Mets had in the second half and the way that World Series aspirations turned into just a lot of disappointment, I'm going to roll with the boys from Queens for now. And I'm going to go as far as saying that they're going to be playing deep into October. And when we wrap up each league, towards the end of the leagues, we'll be sharing our predictions. But what is your final prediction for the division winner here, Corey?
I do have the Mets. I'm going to go with probably 93 wins. But wouldn't be surprised if the Braves take it. But I'm going to go with the Mets as well. I do have faith and belief, just like you do.
Yeah, not really much to talk about with the bottom feeders in this division. I will say this. I really like watching C.J. Abrams play baseball. I really like Jacob Marcy. But those two teams, unfortunately, I don't see any kind of Cinderella action coming from the perennial bottom feeders of this division, the Nationals and the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, the Marlins will be competitive, as we saw last year. They kind of knocked the Mets out, but
yeah, the Mets have, over time, the Mets have had a weird propensity, even in seasons where they're beating contenders, that they do tend to struggle with the Marlins. I don't know if it's familiarity. I don't know what it is, but the Marlins have had the Mets number for a minute.
They're so young, too. Wow.
Yeah, you hope that, management could see it through and, allow some of these young players to develop. But the Marlins have had such a hard time keeping potential good teams together. I think guys that were super professional, super perfectionists, like former Yankee captain Derek Jeter, who was upstairs, former Yankee captain Don Mattingly, who managed the team, I think they both just got tired of the mediocrity of the direction. And these are guys that, strive to be the best. So I can understand why both of them parted with the organization.
Losing culture. They weren't a part of it. One last thing on this division before we move on. Hot take, C.J. Abrams to the Yanks mid-season.
We call that a segue, folks. You know what's funny, Corey? I brought up that name because I had a suspicion that you might have said that. That's good. Yeah. We didn't speak about it pre-show, so that's pretty good. I'm liking this. That would be a hell of a pickup if you ask me. Yep. I'm assuming that you're just we'll get to them when we get to them, but quickly, I guess, I'm assuming that you're not too keen on young Anthony Volpe.
I can't be at this time. I'm not giving up completely, but it's one of those things you have to show me.
I hear you, bro. And when you look at the short list of Yankees that started opening day as rookies, it is such a short list, and it's a legendary one. Anthony Volpe is one of those four. So it's pretty remarkable when you think about it from that lens. We're going to move it along to the National League Central. In case you just hopping on, Corey and I are both picking the Mets in the National League East. Here we go, National League Central. These are my predictions, not speaking for Corey.
Whoa.
I've got the Cincinnati Reds winning this division at a record of 92-70. I've
That's a
got the
hot
Cubs.
take right here.
That is a hot take. I'm kind of putting it out there a little bit. Chicago Cubs 91-71. Milwaukee Brewers 86-76. Pittsburgh Pirates at an even 500. And the St. Louis Cardinals 12 under at 75-87. And
So
that
you
is
got this
Ellie De La
division.
Cruz.
Yeah. You got this division being super competitive and a bloodbath kind of situation. Like,
Yes,
wow.
I do. And when it comes to the top three teams in this division, nothing would surprise me. Even a team like Pittsburgh, who I think made some efforts to try to actually put out a respectable product this year, if they could win most of the games that Paul Skeens starts, they might even surprise some folks because Paul Skeens is such a slump buster and such an excellent pitcher, and they have a halfway decent number two now, that I actually
Yeah, and
tend
they
to believe that they're a team that could compete this year. And, those are proud fans. Those are fans that really know the game of baseball, and they deserve a better product to watch.
absolutely, and they also have other more pitching coming prospect wise. Like, they're loaded. They just need to be able to hit. And I think they got better there. Brandon
Yes, I tend
Lau.
to agree. Yeah, Brendan Lau, I
Uh,
actually drafted him today in my fantasy baseball draft. It wasn't like I went in there saying I got to get this guy, but second base was slim pickings by the time I addressed that position, and that's what happened.
he's
And
been underrated.
no, definitely underrated. I mean, let's be real. They don't get the same kind of publicity that they did once upon a time when they had the likes of Barry Bonds, Doug Drabeck, Bobby Bonilla, just better teams in general. They Andy Van Slyke was pretty good for a while. This is a team that for the better part of like 2 decades, with the exception of a couple of years from Kutch, just really hasn't done much. I'll tell you why I like these Reds. What I saw from them last year, I mean, they ran into a buzzsaw in the form of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who ultimately repeated as world champs. They played it out to the end. They outlasted the Mets to get that final spot. I think just tasting the playoffs was invaluable experience for this team. The Brewers and the Cubs beat the crap out of each other in a 5-game set.
Yes.
And I actually think that had an influence on how flat the Brewers were in that Dodgers series. I also think the Dodgers were just better. I think the Cubs would have matched up better personally. But this is a team I really like the Eugenio Suarez pickup. I think that he's going to do some damage in the Great American Ballpark. I think Ellie De La Cruz is going to have the best season of his young career. And I think you're going to see some contributions from guys that have kind of been middle of the road in this lineup that are going to step it up. And I also happen to like their bullpen. I think the Reds are trending up.
I think they're trending up too. My only concern would be that their ace is going to be on the shelf for a little bit, so that's concerning.
That is true. That's a valid point. I'll tell you a guy who I like watching pitch, Andrew Abbott.
Yes.
He reminds me a little bit of Trevor Bauer. A little bit.
I can see it. I like this Reds team too. I slightly disagree. I think they'll be in the playoff picture, but I think the Cubs will win this division. I just think
I'll
they're
be
the
okay
best.
with that outcome.
Yeah.
I got some friends near and dear to my heart that are Cubs fans, particularly. Shouts out Jeff Elder. Dude is a diehard Cubs fan. My late grandfather supported the Yankees in the American League, but he had Chicago roots based on his military time. So my late grandfather, Yogi, although he supported the Yankees and claimed them as his American League team, to his core was actually a Cubs fan. So when my grandfather passed back in 2003, he died during the season. So we all know how close the Cubs were to winning the pennant. So I must admit that seeing what happened to the Cubs because of what it meant on a personal level may have been more painful than getting upset by the Florida Marlins that year.
Right.
Yeah, but I must admit, when they beat the Indians in 7 games, that was a beautiful moment for the sport of baseball, and almost impossible not to think about my grandfather that day.
It was a timeless moment. It's been 10 years, believe it or not. Wow.
Yeah, man. Anthony Rizzo was on that squad. They had a lot of heart, that Cubs team. But I'll tell you, man, Cleveland is just so snake bit. But that was a phenomenal
Yep.
World Series. I think the most amazing thing is that going in, one of those teams was going to break a legitimate curse.
Yeah, and now I think Cleveland has the longest drought in the sport.
So Major League was feeding it, and now it's a real thing. Of course, they are the Guardians now, no longer the Indians. It's unfortunate. I think the Indian ball cap, not that I wore one because I only wear Yankee gear. The only non-Yankee gear I've ever worn was Roberto Clemente,
Yes.
jersey that my father gifted to me. Very proud of his legacy. But in this division, like I said, any of the top 3 wouldn't shock me. I just think the Brewers lost a little too much the last couple of years, and I think that they're holding on to a little bit of threads. I also think they overachieved last year. I love Jacob
They overachieved
Mizrachi.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Dodgers proved, like I said earlier at the top, the 2 teams in this league last year that I thought would have matched up nice with the Dodgers are actually the Mets, who missed the playoffs, and the Chicago Cubs, who missed out on playing the Dodgers because they lost in 5 to division rival Milwaukee. But yeah, I think Milwaukee is right around where they should be. But something tells me you're picking the Cubs, huh?
I'm picking the Cubs, yes. I think the Cubs will win around 94, 95 games, around there. I could see the Reds being in second. I think they'll be close to Milwaukee's record, kind of similar, kind
But
of
you know
mid
what's
80s.
wacky? You know what's wacky? If the wheels fall off on the Reds or if they go through weird adversities, do they have the guts and the resolve to deal with that? Because this could also be upside down where the Reds are in third or just
Yep.
not in the playoffs. You know, they're a young team. Well, young
Or
in
will they?
certain leadership places.
Or will they pull the trigger on a trade deadline move?
That's another thing. And if you really think about it, it's been a minute since the Cincinnati Reds have been legitimate buyers.
Absolutely. I think that's one of
But
the things that holds Milwaukee. They're a little gun shy at making big moves at times.
yeah, and it frustrates a good friend of the show. You've probably seen him over the years on football, diehard Green Bay Packer, Milwaukee Buck, Milwaukee Brewer fan, Mr. John Olson. I spoke to John earlier today. He's the commissioner of our baseball league, and he has time and time again spoken about his displeasure with the Brewers front office. Idris, my co-host here at the show, has always been a sympathizer for the Brewers. I also think that's in part because of his yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to hate a team where the mascot kind of like goes down a slide into a pool of beer. I mean, can we really hate these guys?
Aren't they? The Brewers are kind of a weird franchise, aren't they?
I mean, shoot, you know, Milwaukee roots go back to the Atlanta days, the Hank Aaron era, National League. They were in the AL East for a hot minute. I remember back, to age myself, when they played in the American League East, and they used to have, like, by the bleachers, Vaughn's Valley. I always remembered that distinctly.
And the Yankees made a trade with them in '96. That was quite important too.
That is correct, sir. That was a huge trade. And also, um, you know, just Bob Uecker on the whole, like, you know, what he brought to the booth, that guy was tremendous.
He was. He was just. You can't teach what he had. His humor was just so freaking crazy. Like, I loved
The
it.
thing I loved about a person like Bob Uecker is he had the ability to never take himself too serious, but he made a lot of people laugh over the years. Even his Hall of Fame induction speech was just quite legendary.
He made a lot of people laugh, and he was actually a really good play-by-play guy. Like, it wasn't just jokes. He had real talent and real technical skills for sure.
No, absolutely. And, you know, just a genuinely good human being. Rest in peace, Bob Uecker. if you check the
R.I.P.
catalog, we did a nice tribute show for him when we lost Uke. And even on the silver screen, he was so awesome in the Major League movies.
He was also on Mr. Belvedere.
I do recall that. And, he also contributed to some of the monumental WrestleManias going back to 3 and 4 at Trump Plaza. I do recall that as well.
He
The
did a
iconic
lot,
photo
man.
of Andre the Giant choking him out.
He did a lot. The guy lived a life for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you basically make a second career out of making fun of your first career, that's pretty dope because he was not the best baseball player by any means. But to make it to the show, you still were pretty good at some point in your life.
Yep.
Yeah, but rest in peace, Uke. Definitely missed. Just a funny,
R.I.P.
funny dude. All right. This is the home of the defending champions. We got the National League West. I predicted that the Dodgers were going to win this with ease, but it is still a
Whoa.
pretty good division. 111-51 for the Dodgers. I'm trying to put the kibosh on them by giving them such a ridiculous record, but honestly, I don't think it's out of the question. I really don't.
It's not because they had a record similar to this about 4 to 5 years ago. They didn't
That
win
is
it that.
Shohei Ohtani.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dodgers are
San
definitely.
Diego Padres, distant second, 93-win team. We got the Giants, 86 and 76. Giants connection, I may have mentioned it to you before on the show, but Jen's grandmother actually threw out the first pitch for them years ago when she was dealing with terminal cancer, and she did a lot of business with the
Oh,
West Coast teams back in the day with her rent-a-car business. Jen actually worked with her. And my grandfather has some roots there because he was in their minor league system.
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. My grandfather got to meet the phenomenal Willie Mays. So that is pretty cool.
That's something else.
Diamondbacks at 79-83. The Rockies suck. We all know that. Sorry, Corey. You go ahead, bud.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, the Rockies definitely suck. Imagine if this were to come true and you win 93 games and you lose the division by 18 games.
It says a lot because the Padres are nobody's. Well, they might be the Dodgers, bitch, but they're a really good team.
They're a really good team. They did lose Dylan Cease, but their rotation is still pretty solid. And their lineup is dangerous, bullpen dangerous. Tatis is going to have a big year.
If the egos get curbed, this is a team that could make some noise in October, regardless of how they get in the playoffs. Because winning the division is not everything, especially with the expanded wild cards.
Right.
As the Dodgers
I
go,
don't
Corey,
see.
it's just unfair, man. They got everything.
It is. They get everything and get everyone. And the only thing that's going to stop them is boredom, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you get a real brash of injuries, they are deeper, in my opinion, this year than last year. So, I mean, you can make an argument that there is an all-star at almost every position.
Exactly. And last year, people forget I say only 93 wins, but yeah, they won 93 last year. I think they could.
Nope. Yeah.
BS. Yeah, I think they could BS their way to 100, like easily.
That's why I gave them the 111, because I have a feeling they're going to get very locked in. But the thing about having such a record like that is that it brings a different kind of pressure in October. And I think that they checked all the boxes for showing people that they're not just a bunch of talented guys that make a shit ton of money. They are situational baseball players. We saw it in full bloom in those 2 victories on the road in Toronto, down 3-2, where I think most of MLB fans and MLB players, people that were, it was a phenomenal World Series. In my genuine opinion, the best World Series since Yankees Diamondbacks in 01.
Completely agree. It was one of the best ever. And let's be real, like the Dodgers were, if you got 10 count for a knockout, they were 9.8 like 3 times. They were really close to being done in Game 7. And it just never happened. Some weird stuff went on, as we all know.
IKF got gunned down at the plate. You had a situation where a ball got stuck on the bottom of the wall. I'm sure the architects of the Rogers Center probably got reamed a new one.
What about the catch
Just
in the outfield where TK went for it and then the center fielder kind of like leaps and reaches over him?
dude, I thought that was legit going to be a disaster, and it turned out to be one of the best plays we've seen in the postseason in quite some time. Yeah,
Stop the
just
game. The World Series is over.
phenomenal.
Like the Jays won right there.
Pages with the big homer. It was just guys,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean about how dangerous they are, because you had guys stepping up that were like buried on the depth chart, guys that were struggling. It all came together at the right time. And shout out to the Blue Jays, because it took two to make it a great World Series, and they were
Sure.
ever so close. And although
Any
some Yankee
concern about?
fans, go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Any concern about Betts and Freeman with their age?
Actually, yeah, and that's why I think that the rigors and the grind of such a long season, because last year I think in part they only won 93 games and were a lower seeded team because they were nursing a shit ton of injuries, and they were not depth wise as deep as they are this year. That's why this year I think it's going to be pretty ferocious the way that potential three-peat culminates, because if they do achieve that, they will be the first team to three-peat since the 2000 Yankees, and that puts them in a position to be the first team to go to 4 straight World Series since the '01 Yankees. So this is definitely, history-making stuff. And when you look at the way that they've manipulated contracts and Ohtani getting the fat part of it at the very end, they're not worried about luxury taxes, and they are the reason why Major League Baseball might ultimately have a salary cap.
Absolutely. I think the only, and this is a hypothetical, an extreme hypothetical. The only thing that could scare Dodger fans is if Ohtani had a major injury.
Well, yeah,
Then you have to be legit concerned if that happens. But
it's one thing to lose him as a pitcher. It's a whole other thing to lose him as an everyday bat. But when you have guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, who is such a valuable player on this team that constantly gets overlooked, you have a pretty damn good rotation as well, even with the retirement of future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw. You brought in Edwin Diaz. I'm curious to see if Timmy Trumpet's following him to L.A. I ain't no Met fan, but that had to be the best intro in baseball.
Right. They also have Yamamoto, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball. They have Sasaki, who still has some growing to do, but he could also be an ace-level pitcher.
And then you just got another potential future Hall of Famer in Blake Snell just kind of chilling. This is a fast team, dude.
Yeah. 2-time Cy Young Award winner, just kind of like, in the bottom of their rotation.
And I might be playing my hand here, but I think anybody who plays this team in the World Series should be proud of themselves just for getting that far, because the Dodgers, in terms of, like I said, not worried about no luxury tax, not worried about how much money they're spending, because their return is bigger than what they're putting out. This is a team that could challenge other dynasties. Like the Yankees of the 50s won 5 in a row. You had the old school Athletics team that three-peated. Yankee team three-peated that I'd mentioned. This is historic territory that these Dodgers could be walking into. And like what usually kills most dynasties outside of selfish greed inside the locker room, age and injuries. On certain parts of this team, they are indeed old. That's why I don't think this is going to last forever. But they have a chance to join some rare air here.
Yeah, if they win the third one in a row, that'll forever be etched in history. Because
2027 baseball lockout. Thanks Dodgers. # thanks Dodgers. He's 100% right. But something does have to be done. Because even when George was pulling his shenanigans back in the 70s and in the 90s, it wasn't quite as egregious as this. This is a different level.
And I've explained this to Yankee fans too, because there's Yankee fans out there saying, "Oh, this used to be the Yankees." No, it wasn't.
No, not by any means. The Yankees moved a lot of money around, and they brought in a lot of big time veterans, particularly on the pitching side. And they were always good for bringing in a big name first baseman. That was one of their things. After Mattingly's departure, you brought in Tino, then you brought in Giambi, then you brought in Teixeira. They always had a bopper at first
Yes.
during the Joe Torre era and bleeding into the Joe Girardi era. But no, this is different. This is a lot
This is
different.
another look. It's a lot different. It's also the Otani effect is so big. Like if he wasn't there, they wouldn't corner.
Corey, I think your mic may have won out, or maybe you hit some static. You still there, bud? All right, I'll wait for Corey to get it together again. Back to these predictions here on the standings. Yeah, I've got the Dodgers
I
111
think.
and there he is. There he is. Yeah, you kind of
Gotcha.
went off for a second. Continue what you were saying, bud.
Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead. You were just about to say the Dodgers.
Yeah, this team, barring just the most egregious circumstances, I can't see a scenario where they don't win 100 easily. But that's my record, 111 and 51. I think this Padres team is a team that could potentially beat somebody in October. They certainly have the talent. I am a big fan of Joe Musgroves, but we will see. Diamondbacks, they've lost too much over time. I do like their pitching staff, but they don't have enough offensively. And please, the Rockies, please. I might be generous with those 60 wins.
I think the Giants are going to be good.
They might be a little better. I might be selling them a little short, but I do have two playoff teams here. I'll be revealing that in a minute. But yeah, Los Angeles Dodgers, I mean, like I said, it's just so damn unfair. Anybody that wins two games in the playoffs against these guys should feel very proud of themselves, just based on how deep they are. And I could scream a million times over 2 years ago. Uh, that series should have won 7. I stand by it. Nestor Cortez never gave up a hit in his career to Mookie Betts. Why the hell did you walk him and pitch to Freddie? Damn you, Aaron Boone. All right. National League playoffs, Richie's predictions. Not speaking for Corey, just myself. I'm going to let it scroll by one more time.
So San Diego, New York, Cincinnati.
That is, I'm going to announce it now. I
Okay.
wanted to let it go through because the other comment was
Yeah.
blocking it off. All right. National League playoffs. Let's go. Richie's predictions. Once again, not speaking for Corey. I got the 3rd seed, Cincinnati Reds, defeating the 6th seed Atlanta Braves. I've got the 4, San Diego Padres, defeating the Chicago Cubs at 5. Los Angeles Dodgers will be defeating the San Diego Padres like they always do. I've got the New York Mets prevailing against the Cincinnati Reds, a team that beat them out for the final spot last year. In the NLCS, it'll be a repeat of 24, the Dodgers 4, the Mets 2. I do think the Mets match up good with the Dodgers to give them some fun games, but I just think the Dodgers are just that damn unfairly good. Anything here that you want to rebuttal, Corey?
I don't think I would really rebuttal. Is I would put the Braves a higher seed than the Reds. But yeah, I could see this. I honestly, I think the Mets could make a deep run. But like you said, it's just delaying the inevitable at this point.
St. John's for the W. Buzzer beater over Kansas Jayhawks. St. John's moves on. How about the Johnnies? Guys like Chris Mullen, Felipe Lopez, Mark Jackson, they're smiling right now. Lou Carnesecca, legendary coach. Yes, that Johnny's team went to the Final Four back in the day. Chris Mullen was a bad dude
Yeah,
on the court.
he was.
But yeah, that's
So was
my
Mark Jackson.
National League. Who was that?
As was Mark Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Mark Jackson was nasty. That was one of the worst trades the Knicks ever made. Should have never traded him for Charles Smith. And then he came back to bite us when he was a member of the Indiana Pacers. He ultimately did come back to New York in a reduced form. He was kind of old at that point. But, yeah, Mark Jackson, very upset that the Knicks parted with him. I believe that if they didn't make that trade, perhaps things go slightly different against the Bulls. Mark Jackson was an advantage that the Knicks had, and they didn't. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he did everything good.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to move it along to our guys, our division. We are in the American League East now. Going to get rid of Shohei's face.
I'll try to be unbiased.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, and anybody that sees this can hold me to it.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, American League East, Richie's predictions. Not speaking for Corey. New York Yankees, 101-61. They are the second team listed to win 100 games. Last year, nobody in the bigs won 100 games. The defending American League champion, Toronto Blue Jays, with a very strong 97-65. The Boston Red Sox, 92, and I got to redo that. That's not right math. That would actually be 92-70. The Baltimore Orioles, 89-75. The Tampa Bay Rays, 79-83. Did I math this right? I'm actually looking at this right now. I got to fix two of these.
I think the Red Sox you have to fix. Let's see here, and also the Orioles you have to fix.
Yes, sir. The Orioles would be 89-73. Let me fix that. And the Red Sox would be 92-70. Sorry, Reds. I didn't do that on purpose.
Reds, you won't remember. JK.
No, not if he's. It's Sunday. It's Sunday. You know what he's doing. Blue Jays, Sox, Yanks, O's, and the Southern Florida Flounders. That is Richard Dorney. He does not like our New York Yankees, but he is very funny about the way that he expresses it, so I take it with a grain of salt. July 4th, Rich. Yeah. July 4th, we're going to the Bronx. Mets, Yankees. Let's go. All right, let's talk about our Yankees starting it up. That guy right there, Giancarlo Stanton, talking about playing a little bit more outfield this year. We've heard it before. Listen, we don't like this contract. We've spoken about it on the show before. It prevents the ascension of younger players like a Spencer Jones, younger players like a Jason Dominguez, who, once again, I think he got sent down because he doesn't really fit in left, and he's not playing center because of Grisham. Even a guy like a Ben Rice, let's say hypothetically, if the Yankees try to get a superstar bat at first, it leaves Rice susceptible to being a trade victim or a trade candidate. This albatross of a contract that is Giancarlo Stanton has prevented the Yankees from being more diversified in their lineup. Not totally shitting on the guy. He's been huge in many Octobers. But, the pitching staff right now, you're missing two big veterans in the form of Carlos Rodon as well as Garrett Cole. Cole should be back mid-June. Rodon, early May, late April. Cam Schlittler. What more can you say about him? He was awesome last year. This is a team that from the pitching aspect, even without their two big dogs, or two of their three big dogs, Fried will be pitching opening night on Wednesday on Netflix. I feel good about this pitching staff, Corey. I really do.
I do too. I like the depth in the rotation, even with those two, veterans that you mentioned. They've got Schlittler, they've got Warren, they've got Heel, who might not even start with the team because of all the off days.
I have a feeling that Heel's going to end up. Yeah. Heel has a lot of swing and miss stuff when he's right. He showed that in his Rookie of the Year campaign. Hasn't done it much in year two. The ERA kind of went up, but I do think that he makes sense in the pen. Who do you think our big three in the pen are going to be? Of course, you have Duvall and Bednar. Who do you think is the third arm that emerges? Is it somebody in AAA that's going to get called up?
Possibly somebody like LaGranye.
That is my choice, sir. That is my choice.
Yes. Well, I love Fernando Cruz, but I don't view him as like a shutdown setup type guy. He's more of a middle
kind of got that wily, just survivor mode, kind of like a Wandy Peralta was with us.
Yes, I love him.
Is the future beast. Yes, he is, Dorney. I appreciate you being honest, even though you hate my team. Until he's a free agent and goes to, you're a d bag. I knew you were going to come up with something like that. He ain't
I
going to
don't think
Boston,
so.
bro. He doesn't. No, 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 no. I
The
know he's from
fans insult
there.
him. You know?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I never thought I'd see Marcus Stroman be a Yankee, but you never know. Um, yeah, I think the Yankees last year, really a humbling experience when you see the way that their two best pitchers last year, Rodon and Fried, both got lit up in the Rogers Center after a season where they had the same record as the Jays, but the Jays really whipped their ass. And were it not for some Aaron Judge heroics and some Cam Schlittler, I don't even think. I think Yankees probably would have got swept.
Yeah, they just couldn't handle the Jays last year. They had their number. That lineup was just too relentless. We had no answers for it. That could hopefully that changes this year. I think losing Bichette is going to hurt Toronto. I really do. I mean, I know they signed. I don't want to mispronounce his name, Akamoto, the Japanese slugger. But
Yes, I did see that. Yes, he's going to be playing third if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, is he going to live up to the offensive production of Bichette? I don't know. Remains to be seen.
The Mets got a gem in Bichette. I must say that, and I think he's going to fit in
They
very well
did.
into that locker room. I think the fans in Queens are going to love him. Second generation star. His dad was a hell of a slugger.
Mhm.
I like it for the Mets. I really do. What is okay? What are you worried about with the Yankees, and what are you feeling good about with the Yankees? Either way that you want to go.
Feeling good about the rotation depth. I worry about the same problem from past years, the swing and miss tendency. That has to get
Yes,
better.
indeed.
It was
Yes, indeed.
it was a lot better in 2024 than it was last year.
Yeah, when you had
Um,
Soto in front of Judge, that was something comparable to the Eminem boys.
yeah, but they to play devil's advocate, they also were a great offense last year, even though they struck out a lot. They scored the most runs. Like they were definitely not chopped liver. And a lot of people say that strikeout teams can't win in October, but home runs can win in October. That's been proven. Um,
No, I tend to agree. I don't think people truly realize the level that Aaron Judge was at last year. Now I
right.
know I get it. He's been the source of a lot of jokes. He had a crummy WBC, but it's such a short tournament. It's blown out of
He,
proportion, in my opinion. I don't
it's
think the
crummy towards the
WBC
end.
is indicative of either New York star. I think Nolan McLean is going to have a phenomenal season, probably win Rookie of the Year, and I think Aaron Judge is going to win another MVP. I really mean that. But oh, here goes Dorney. This is funny. Bo, fuck Philly, Bichette. Yeah, as a Met fan, Dorney, that had to feel good the way he did them. That had to feel good. And even though I'm not a Met fan, as a New Yorker, I feel good because it's like a little dig back to the city of Philadelphia after they took Saquon from us. And Dorney is a Giant fan, so he relates to that. Aaron is video game good. Yeah, he is. He's got to he's just got to keep up the good momentum from last October. Last October he had some big moments. Wasn't enough to win, but the Yankees did have their chances to square that series up. They didn't get it done. Jazz Chisholm Jr., another guy that's got to back up the talking. He's talking a little reckless, talking about a 50-50 season. I'd be happy with 270 and 35 home runs, but he's got to
Right.
stay
I
healthy
think
too. That's also
to
important.
me, Jazz has to have a big year, and I think the X factor for the lineup is Wells, in my opinion. I think if he has a big year, the Yankees will go places because he's better than what we saw last year.
No, I tend to agree, and I'm also happy that Goldie comes back in the mentor role, backup role for young Ben Rice, because in close games, you're going to bring in Goldie because he does have the superior glove. And the other side of this is that Goldie hits lefties at such a good clip that with the limited at bats, preserving his body, I think this is a guy that's going to come up big in big moments for the Yankees
I like the bench. Rosario also hit kill these too. I think their bench is going to be solid. Grichuk is there. He's going to be a good
Yeah,
player to take a
Randall
flyer on.
Grichuk. Yeah, a guy that the Yankees took a flyer on. He's going to be part of it. So for now, do you foresee a trade in the beginning of the year? Are we going to move Jason Dominguez possibly?
It would have to be for something like exceptional. I don't think they'll just trade him to trade him because it's a roster crunch situation. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
agree. I agree with that. And
yeah,
he's still young. And
yeah,
my thing with this is this. I talked to Dorney before the show, and I said that the Yankees panicked a little by giving the qualifying offer to Trent Grisham. I think they panicked more when he
yeah.
took it. Um, they didn't think they were going to be able to retain Cody Bellinger. Ultimately, it worked out in their favor. Cody Bellinger was a guy you had to bring back. You couldn't lose protection in the lineup, whether protected or protecting, because it's a two-way street for the captain, Aaron Judge. So bringing back Bellinger was vital. But if the Yanks could do it over, I believe that you'd see Dominguez in center field right now, and you'd see Spencer Jones as your fourth outfielder. But there's a
Right.
certain way that things have to be done right now. I'm taking the long road on this. See what these kids could do in AAA Scranton. See if they can keep up the consistency, keep up the mindset, because sometimes when guys get sent down, they lose focus. So
Right.
I would say play it that way. And yes, I agree with Rich here. And I think Skubal is more realistic. Yankees will be all in on Skeens and Skubal come midsummer. I think for better or worse, the Pirates are not going to trade Skeens, but I do think
No way.
Skubal is a guy that could be had. And if the Yankees acquire Tarek Skubal, good night, Irene, because I feel that when you get back a healthy Garrett Cole at the midway point or a little bit before it, that's kind of like a trade deadline deal because they're going to nurture Cole's pitch counts and things of that nature. But when Garrett Cole is pitching at the level that Garrett Cole pitches at, he's still a top 20 pitcher in all of baseball, if not more than that. I'm being
Absolutely.
humble because he's coming off the surgeries.
I actually think the Yankees have a really good depth in pitching overall, so they can cover any kind of issues there. I can't see Skeens going, not this year. And this is
Yeah,
what
I
I'll say
think the
about
Pirates are going to try to sell him on something. I don't think he stays, but
yeah.
the Yankees and Skubal makes a lot of sense. But Skeens has admitted his love for the pinstripes. That would be something if the Yankees acquired him.
I think it'll happen in a few years. I actually think he becomes a Yankee, but I don't
I
see
am buying
Skubal
that
going
man's
this year.
jersey the day that he gets traded. I shit you not.
I don't see Skubal going either because if you're a Tigers fan, the Tigers are more than likely going to win that division easily. So how do you explain trading him if you're in contention and you could win a World Series? Do you
Um,
still? I don't know.
yeah, I think it's the fear of just getting nothing for him. It's a tough one,
Right.
either way you slice it. I mean, they did bring in Verlander for the sentimental touch, and also because I think at the back end of the rotation, he could help this team. Casey Mize coming off a respectable season, and you bring in Framber Valdez, who's one of the best inducers of the ground balls, double plays. So they have some diversity in this pitching staff, this pitching rotation. Dorney said the same thing you said. This is a team that could still win the division even without their best pitcher. And don't forget about your boy. Don't call me Mike Stanton. Yeah, Dorney, definitely a guy who has always been. They brought in Verlander for Kate Upton. Maybe so. I'm still trying to figure out what the Mets brought him in for. I have not been able to understand that one, Uncle Stevie. But
They basically paid him to go win a World Series in Texas. That's what happened. But
yeah, it was pretty wacky. It was wacky, but I understand the effort. I understand why they did it. It was weird because then Scherzer ended up with the Rangers for a little bit.
very
Uh,
strange.
but yeah, do you feel confident with this win total? Or do you think I'm a little too high on them?
I think they're a little too high. I would more so go between the 95 and 98 range, which is still going to win the division, in my opinion. But your prediction is not out of the question. Like,
I think the reason why I'm comfortable putting them over 100 is because when I think about last year and the games that they blew, whether because of defensive follies or because of Devin Williams or because of both of them in the same games, The Yankees did make a ton of errors last year. Um,
Yeah.
I believe that if some of that gets shored up, that's the difference between being a 100-win team and being a mid
Yeah.
90s win team. Because when I think
And
about not winning that division last year, and some of the reasons as to why, very frustrating to say the least. And you normally don't say that about a team who wins 94 games. But
exactly.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if they're even in between, I I'm confident. I think that this is a team that has enough pitching to not only hold down the fort, but to really do some damage when Cole and Rodon come back, especially Cole, because Rodon's not going to be gone for too long. He'll be in there before May, hopefully. Toronto Blue
If they're,
Jays. What's that, bud?
I was just gonna say real quick, if they're healthy in the rotation come October, they can stand up to anybody.
No, absolutely, absolutely, Corey. I tend to agree. But the Blue Jays had a lot of momentum, and there's got to be some pain, but also a decent amount of hunger. I want the Rays to be sellers on Caminero this year. Queen hashtag Queens loves Dominicans, and so does Dorney, his beautiful Dominican wife,
Be
Marianne.
prepared to give up a lot of talent for him if you want him.
No, for real, it's going to require that. But I could see that would actually make sense, and I'm sure that he would love Queens. We're going to move it over to the Toronto Blue Jays, 97 and 65 for the Jays. That puts them as a strong wild card. Neither outcome would shock me if the Jays were able to win this division again. I mean, they had certain guys step up like Clement, who is a super utility guy, Addison Barger, one of the more underrated catchers in the league, Alejandro Kirk, a guy who's just a really, really hard worker. And even though he's a little dinged up right now, Trey is savage. Similar to what Cam Schlittler did for us, he did for Toronto last year. Guy was friggin' awesome, man. And you still got Gaussman over there. You still have a really good pitching staff, and pretty good closer, damn good manager. This team, it depends on how they deal with the heartbreak of last year, because last year was a different kind of heartbreak.
It's different. It's even different, more different than like the Yankees losing in 2024. Like this is a different kind of pain that you don't get over.
No, sir, and I said it to you. The Indians felt it when they lost to the Cubs in 16. The Yankees felt it in 01 in the manner that they lost. Take it way back to an iconic World Series when the Mets beat the Red Sox in 86. The Red Sox felt that. It takes a special bunch of players to recover from something like that. And the heartbreaking part is that no season is ever the same. Like, you build brotherly ties, and some of these guys get traded or they go to other teams or whatever have you. Don Mattingly, even from a personal standpoint, I was pulling for the Jays because of Don Mattingly. No other reason, because Don Mattingly has been through the baseball wars and a guy that's just, quintessential example of what class is. And of course, I wanted him to, I'm happy that he got to at least be in the World Series finally. Should have been in '94. But heartbreaking. Like when you see Mattingly being consoled by Bo Bichette, and Mattingly kind of telling him, "I'm good, kid. I'm good, kid." But
This is the thing about baseball too, like and a lot of sports too. But every season is a different animal, a different story. Like it's easy to say, "Oh, well, they were great last year, so they'll do it again." You can't just say that because you don't know.
No, you really don't. And no two seasons are alike, because coming off of the 24 disappointment to the Dodgers, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that the Yankees were going to get back, and they did not. And no, and I certainly didn't have the Toronto Blue Jays taking the Dodgers to 7 on my bingo card, let alone even being in that position. If I would have picked another East team, it probably would have been the Red Sox. And speaking of those Red Sox,
Or the Orioles, yeah.
yeah, the Orioles, another team. They had a disappointment last year, but Red Sox, in my opinion, have the best defensive infield in this division by far. I'm really looking forward to seeing what young Roman Anthony does. They're our most hated rival, but I have a lot of respect for that organization. I have a lot of respect for those fans. Those fans know their baseball. They love baseball. It's a great
They got
rivalry.
Contreras. Yep.
Yeah, they got Contreras. You still got Aroldis Chapman drinking the goat milk, closing it down over there. Garrett Crochet, my pick for American League Cy Young Award winner this year.
Almost won it last year.
Yes, he did almost, but this year I believe he wins it. This is a team that I really like on paper. Are they going to be good enough to make the postseason? That will be revealed, but definitely a team that's going to be in the mix. Baltimore Orioles, I think they're still 1 year away from making the playoffs. You got some prove-it years for certain guys like Gunnar Henderson, like Adley Rutschman. But I think when you bring in a certified 30-plus home run guy in the form of Pete Alonso coming off his second-best RBI season of his career, all-time Mets home run leader. Last year broke Darryl Strawberry's franchise record. And a guy would have think a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because, the Mets kind of had their own plan. They were comfortable moving on, but I think Pete may be a little hurt. I do think that being a Met meant something to him, and I expect him to have a really phenomenal season.
I see why, and it can only help the younger players. Pete's a veteran now. He's been through it. Guys like Gunnar Henderson, Holiday, they can only learn and be a sponge to Pete Alonso.
Absolutely, I think you said it well. And Tampa Bay Rays, this is an interesting one. They may have the best manager in this division. I mean, it's either he or Alec Cora. I'll tell you what, it's not Aaron Boone. But what can you do? Really, you have a superstar in Caminero, who Dorney mentioned. Let's get him to Queens. You've got really good players like Jonathan Aranda as well as Yandy Diaz. But ever since the Wander Franco situation and, the best player in the franchise getting in trouble and just the limited amount of what they're willing to put on the table to bring in more talent, the only guy that they really, truly, truly paid was Evan Longoria. It's just a lot of uphill, and they catch no breaks whatsoever because you have 4 heavy hitters in this division for opponents.
Right, and also they got they do have some pretty good starters, but a couple of them have been hurt a lot, like McClanahan, and it's just wow. It's when I looked at their lineup, I was like, wow, this lineup is going to be terrible.
Unfortunately, shouts out to my good friend, the former namesake of the show, Jordan Patrick. He loves his Rays. He's a diehard Rays fan, one of the best guys to go watch a ball game with. And it's funny, whenever Jordan and I go, whoever drives, that's the team that ends up losing.
So, you know what you do? Hire somebody else to drive.
Yeah, no lie. They are back in the Trop, which I'm happy about. I mean, I'll keep it honest. That place is an oversized Costco. But when you live in Florida and when you deal with this just ridiculous heat, you enjoy the 72 degrees inside. And, it's not totally an eyesore. You got a nice little fish tank there. One thing I will say about Tampa fans, they embrace the New York fans because they know that that's Yankee country and they make a lot of revenue off New York fans, as they do Boston fans. Tampa fans are very friendly, so I got no bad for them.
I respect the Rays a lot.
I mean, dude, they've accomplished a lot given their circumstances. They made the World Series in the pandemic year. They made it back in 2008 against a really strong Phillies team. And truthfully, they could have won either series.
Yeah, and I wouldn't make trades with them because they have inside information that usually goes in their favor.
Absolutely, and I will be honest, I am very appreciative that we were able to get our hands on Jose Caballero.
Absolutely. But I want to remind Yankees fans that, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't view him as an everyday shortstop.
No, not by any means. He doesn't have enough pop in his bat. He's more versatile on a couple of days a week or, pinch running and influencing the outcome of games like that. But he is coming off a season where he stole 49 bags. He could achieve that again because of the fact that Volpe's on the IL. And, if he plays well, he might actually push Volpe a little. And that could be a good thing because there's nothing wrong with healthy competition.
Yeah, and the worst comes to worst, he becomes a valuable bench piece again. Like it's a good problem to have.
I couldn't agree more, Corey. I like it. And, he was a valuable bench piece. He's the reason we actually went to the playoffs last year with the hit.
I like his
Just getting
attitude,
on
man.
base.
He's
Yeah,
playing
he's a
hard.
good team guy. And you got to imagine that when you're kind of in no man's land in Tampa, a team that's always just dead in the middle, it's got to feel good jumping into a playoff race, a pennant race. And that's what he was able to do last year as a member of the Yankees. So,
He's
I wish
one of
him
those
well.
guys that, yeah, he's one of those guys that's like you hate him when he's on the other side, but when he comes
Oh,
over,
for
you're like,
sure.
wow.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was very happy when I saw that come over my ESPN feed last season. American League Central, my predictions, not Corey's. He's going to rebuttal me if he needs to. Detroit Tigers at 98 and 64. That win total might be a little skewed if Skubal gets dealt. I still think they're good enough to win the division, no problem. Kansas City Royals at 88 and 74. I'm going to say it now. Miguel Garcia is going to have a career season, and I think Sal Perez is still going to hit north of 30. Cleveland Guardians at 82 and 80. They just don't have enough, in my opinion, but I expect another phenomenal season out of the perennial pro Jose Ramirez. Minnesota Twins at 75 and 87. They don't have the pitching. Chicago White Sox at 57 and 105. They don't have a damn thing.
I like the prediction here. I would lessen the Tigers' wins a bit, but
That's Tarek Skubal, folks. And fuck you, AJ Hinch. Go ahead, Corey.
I don't think there's any way the Tigers don't win this division. I do like the Royals, competitive team, have one of the best players in baseball, but at the end of the day, the Tigers have the most talented roster. The Guardians basically ran it back and did it way worse than the Yankees did. Yeah, the last two teams, no chance.
White Sox should be moved. Yeah, they're terrible, Rich. Where would you move them? They
You
are
know what's so
terrible.
funny, though? If you take away the '05 title, you can't take it away, but their drought was pretty much as long as the Cubs, if not longer.
Yeah, it's been a lot of sorrow in Chicago. And even those years that they were winning division titles, they were never really a threat because the division was so bad. The one beef I have with the White Sox is that they ruined that Field of Dreams game because, man, that was so just awesome seeing Stanton and Judge go back to back. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, right in the cornfields. And then they ended up beating us. Nashville,
Fucking
huh?
Tim Anderson. Yeah.
Well, if my grandfather was still alive, he'd be in favor of that because he always proudly said that there was only one real team in Chicago and not those guys.
You think expansion's coming, or you think, yeah, I think expansion's going to come instead of a team moving.
I mean, either outcome's possible. I am happy that the Rays are staying in Tampa. They have a plan to do something a little better for them, more major league ready. My grandfather would be irate to know that the Chicago Bears are leaving Soldier because he was a Bears fan as well.
Is that official?
Oh, look at this. Cornfield even shorter porch than the Bronx. And this is all I got for you, Dorney. Let's back it up. 9-11-21. Jesus Familia and Aaron Judge is the matchup. Aaron Judge mashes one into the Queen's night. And I look at my best friend and say, was that a Yankee Stadium home run?
As if Aaron Judge needs a Yankee Stadium home run.
Man, let me tell you something. Dorney made
It's Wall
TV on
Skulls.
912. We were at the Lindor game where he and Stanton hit a combined 5 home runs. Lindor had 3 and got the better.
Yeah.
Almost had a team fight right in front of us. We were sitting on the right field baseline. Dorney had about 5 or 6 foul balls in his direction. But yeah, he made ESPN. I was so woozy from the night before that I was kind of quiet. I was sitting 2 seats over from Dorney. And, Aaron Judge wasn't the only one that had a migraine that day. Aaron Judge, unfortunately, had to leave game 2 early with a migraine. It wouldn't have mattered. The Mets were the better team that day. 9-11 was epic. Bobby V and Joe Torre leading out the firefighters, the police, the first responders. Just a phenomenal experience that I'll never forget. And really happy that I was in the building hanging with the 7 line. Dorney was harassing Alex Rodriguez. They were in the cubicle behind us, he and Big Papi. Just a really good just a really good experience, man. Shouts out to the
Amazing.
Mets fans. It wasn't about the rivalry that day; it was about New York.
Exactly. And to go back, the Mike Piazza moment is one of my favorite moments of all time. And I'm
No,
obviously a
absolutely.
Yankees.
Certain things are bigger than the game. Certain things are bigger than the
Yeah,
rivalry.
exactly.
Shouts out number
For
31,
sure.
Mike Piazza, godson of the legendary Tommy Lasorda. Uh, yeah, that was like in terms of sports, that was part of the city healing, and the Mets most definitely played a part in that, as did the Yankees. And when I even think about that 0-1 season and the way it all ended, it was just appropriate, in a lot of ways. So yeah, about this Lindor 3 home runs. Dorney, although not of Puerto Rican descent, he is married to a Dominican woman. Shouts out Marianne for dealing with this guy. Um, he he grew up in my grandmother's house. Well, both my grandmother's houses, but my Puerto Rican grandma Maria, man, Dorney was getting down on the food at an early age. But
Oh
whenever
yeah.
we go to sporting events, whether it's 2012 New Year's Day when the Giants win the division title and Victor Cruz scores right in front of us and Dorney produces a Puerto Rican flag, or whether you
Salsa
fast forward
dance.
it to 2021, decades or so later, and he's like dapping up the guys from Washington Heights, and he's trying to explain to me that my grandmother would be good with Lindor having the big night because she was from the island. I was like, yes, but she was a Yankee fan. But he's not lying though. My grandmother would be happy for Lindor. Nothing better than Mets Yanks with you. Appreciate that, Rich. Feelings mutual. Something that my father and I used to enjoy, and we keep the tradition going when Rich and I hook up for Mets and Yankees. Baseball is a better place when the Mets and Yankees are both good. I will say that, and they are going to both be good this year. Good luck on the season,
Facts.
Rich. It's right around the corner. My favorite time. I'm loving this. I don't have another playoff team in here, Corey. Honestly, I really don't. It's
No.
the Tigers, and that's it. And as much as I don't like him, AJ Hinch is a damn good manager.
You think the Royals will ever trade Bobby Witt?
I hope
Not right
not,
now.
because I hate seeing when some of these smaller market teams can't keep their stars. And don't get it twisted. I would absolutely
Yeah.
love to see this guy in a Yankee uniform. But, uh, he's where he belongs, and
He
hopefully
is.
they can build around him. That's the best way
You hope
to say
so.
that.
It's better for
You think
baseball
of,
if they do. Yeah.
no, 100%. You think of legendary Royals, you think of George Brett, you think of Sal Perez, and you think of this guy.
Facts. But his dad wasn't a bad pitcher either.
No, not by any means. He had a real good career. Not by any means. He was damn good. All right, we're going to move it along to the American League West final division of the night, and then we're going to give some hot takes after I share my final predictions. Once again, my prediction is not Corey's. Seattle
Whoa.
Mariners with the
Okay.
best record in the American League at 104-59. Zappy's Rangers 90-72. I've got the hated
Good
Houston
God.
Astros 88-74. The Athletics, they don't really have a home right now, 82-80. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, a respectable 81-81 with an aging
So,
Mike Trout. Joe Adell coming off a good year.
so you got every team in the divisional at 500 or better. Wow, 104 for Seattle. That's another hot take. You're rolling the hot takes in this one for sure.
Well, I'll be honest with you, dude. I really think highly of that pitching staff, the bridge to get to Munoz for the ninth. I really like the managerial change that they made that has them in a good place because they were very close to making their first World Series ever last year. They had a 2-0 lead at
Yep.
Toronto before blowing it. Um, Cal Raleigh, I mean, I don't think you could duplicate the kind of year he had, but even if he's hitting 45 bombs, it's still
Yeah.
impactful. A guy that I don't like on the rivalry tip, but a guy that plays the game the right way, Josh Naylor, did well there. Of course, Julio
Good fit for them.
Rodriguez, just a phenomenal talent.
I think Naylor just fits in with them perfect. Um, he's clutch. He gives them an edge.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely a pro's pro. I mean, I know him and Glaber had a little bit of heat, but that's just playoff baseball. But I got no bad for
right.
Naylor. Guy's a hard worker.
Exactly. I definitely think Seattle wins the division. Texas. Texas needs to hit better for sure,
I want to see some big things from Wyatt Langford this year.
right?
Yeah, Wyatt Langford. Seager is not no spring chicken, but I could see him having a pretty good year. I
Yep,
like their rotation. I don't love their bullpen,
absolutely. Right.
but I think Jacob DeGrom is going to turn it back a couple of years when he was doing this for the boys and queens. And I think Jacob DeGrom is going to win the American League Cy Young this year. It's either going to be he,
Wow.
Skubal, or you Savage. Maybe Schlittler could surprise some folks, but there's a few guys. There's a few guys that I can see doing it. Crochet, I mentioned. I'm going to say this. It's going to be either Crochet or DeGrom. I think DeGrom's going to get it this year. I just have a feeling he's going to be on his game, and God willing, he stays healthy because he's one of the best talents to watch. And I actually did see him. It was actually during the same night of the U.S. Open when Serena Williams lost her shit. Dorney's wife was actually watching that, and we were over in Citi Field watching the Phils and the Mets. And I got to see DeGrom, doing what he does, which is strike out a lot of people and really have a
Incredible.
low pitch count. That was like vintage DeGrom.
The Astros are interesting. No, they've lost talent over the years, but they always seem to replenish. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they kind of have the right scope of when it's time to let guys go.
Yep.
So, hot take number 2 in this division: Yordan Alvarez, potential batting champion.
I can see it. I think he's a top 5 hitter in the league when he's healthy, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think I really think the Athletics are going to surprise people this year.
It would be cool
I
to
don't think
see
they,
before they make the
I
move.
don't think yeah. I think their pitching staff just suffers in that terrible ballpark. It's just not. It's like Coors Field West, basically, except maybe
Yeah, it's
worse.
not fair. It's not fair at all because you
It's
notice that the
not.
pitchers' ERAs
But
are so much better. And I think Luis Severino's doing a pretty good job over there.
yeah. But their everyday lineup with the youth and guys they have, they're legit. Like they got some boppers, man. They really do.
Yes, Corey, I share your sentiments on that. Seattle's, if there's something to poke at, they had trouble at times with the offense going to sleep, although they did have boppers. Of
They
course,
were too
last
strikeout
year,
prone.
yeah, too strikeout prone. You had Eugenio Suarez, who's no longer there. Of course, Kyle Raleigh not hitting for average, and Julio Rodriguez up and down. But this particular year, I think Seattle's going to turn the corner. They've been close. The pitching has
Yep.
been there. You don't want to squander great pitching. I think this is the year that they cash in on a lot of
And
that.
you know, there's always moves to be made at the deadline if they're lacking something. I think you strike while the iron is hot on that. I definitely think they're a great team. I mean, they almost beat the Blue Jays last year. They were close.
I fell asleep on this for a second. I actually forgot to update the picture, but that's Cal Raleigh looking
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Aquaman there. Um, One thing that I found comical last year was the Mariner fans who were so irate that this man didn't win the MVP. I'm like, guys, you got to lead the league in more than 2 of 9 or 10 possible categories.
It wasn't just Mariners fans. It was a lot of fans in general because the Yankee anti-Yankee sentiment is real at times.
I mean,
But
people forget Judge also won a batting title. That does matter. And take into consideration an IL stint and how many times he gets walked.
50 home runs and a batting title 3 times in history. Mickey Mantle, and I think the other one was who? I don't remember the other one, but
Yeah, it slips my mind at the moment, but it's a very rare place to be. And Raleigh, who I do like, does Big Dumper get? Hold on, what is this? Does Big
Big
Dumper get
Dumper gets
shit?
shit. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
him in a Rose Arena. Big Dumper
I
did. I
thought
don't even believe Big Dumper recorded a hit in the WBC, unless he,
he was terrible.
yeah, he was terrible. Everybody's on
He
Judge,
got
which
bad.
the
Judge
supposed to
wasn't
be
even that
MVP was
bad.
worse. He wasn't
Judge
that
was
good
good in
though.
the beginning.
Yeah,
No,
but
but
that's the kind of tournament
it's
where your batting average could slide 40 points in one game.
also March. Like,
I mean,
what are we doing?
I said it before, the Mets' potential ace had a blimped up ERA of 5.48. I don't think that's indicative of the kind of year he's going to have either.
No. Yeah, and Cal Riley's not going to be the worst hitter in baseball. So,
No, not by any means. He'll hit his 230, 240, but he's going to hit over 40 bombs. I say 45 bombs for Raleigh. But I got the Mariners as the 1 seed. So this is my playoff predictions for the American League. I've got the Detroit Tigers defeating the number 6 Kansas City Royals. I've got the number 4 Blue Jays knocking off the number 5 Red Sox. I've got the Blue Jays upsetting the 1-seeded Mariners. I've got the Yankees beating, fuck you, AJ Hinch and the Detroit Tigers, setting up an American League Championship Series where the New York Yankees, in dramatic fashion, defeat the Seattle Mariners 4-3. I said this backwards. That is the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me fix that.
that would be legendary.
I'm glad I caught it early. So what's that? 3 mistypes? Not too bad. It's a lot of typing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get that back up. There we are.
Tigers. So you got Kansas City getting in then, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I got Kansas City sneaking it. Whiskey and bedtime. Fuck the Phils. Have a good night, Rich. Thanks for joining.
See you later, buddy.
The
You
East
like
keeps popping up. I'm trying to get that out of here.
you like Houston to just miss out on the playoffs then?
Yeah, similar to last year. I got the same kind of deal going down. Same kind of scenario going down for a second year.
I think the American League is wide open. Like, I don't think there's a clear favorite. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 teams you could pick as the winner. So to me, it's like none of these predictions are like outlandish to me.
I did make a boo-boo here. I'm going to correct that. Going back to the West for a second, because the Rangers won too many games to not make the playoffs. I'm going to adjust that to 87 and 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
that's where I
got
made a
them.
boo-boo. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't miss
got them
that
just.
too. Yeah, I got Houston and the Texas Rangers missing out. So that sets up our World Series. I've got the Los Angeles Dodgers defeating the New York Yankees 4-2 for the second time in 3 years, and the Yankees will have to see another team. At least this time it'll happen in Los Angeles, so they won't celebrate in the Bronx. But I got the Dodgers winning their 3rd consecutive championship, and for the first time of those championships,
I hope you're
celebrating.
wrong.
Even going back to the pandemic year, they didn't have their field to celebrate on. Of course, I hope I'm wrong. I'm just trying to be honest.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong. I know you are.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Trying to be as objective as possible, trying to be as honest as
Yeah,
possible.
I totally get it. I mean, I think the Dodgers will probably win. It's just they're just a little bit undeniable, honestly.
Yeah, it is what it is. But that's why you watch it, because can somebody pull it off? And that's what's so great about this game. The best team, the most talented team, doesn't always win. So I'm going on record right now. My American League Cy Young Award winner will be Jacob deGrom. My National League Cy Young Award winner, I'm going to go with Paul Skeens. American League home run champ, give me Aaron Judge edging out Pete Alonso. In the National League, I've got the National League home run champ, Kyle Schwarber. I've got the National League MVP. I'm going to stick with my dark horse, Ronald Acuna Jr. National League Cy Young Award winner. That can come down to a couple. But yeah, I say Skeens. Judge wins another MVP. and I'm putting Acuna up there. Does anybody break the American League record of 62? I'm not this year. I got Judge finishing with 56 home runs. I think second, let's see, second. Yeah, I'm going to go Raleigh in the mid 40s. I think Judge beats him out by 10 or more.
Yeah, I think Judge wins the MVP, wins home run title. American League Cy Young, I got Crochet. I like that pick. Um,
Yeah, it's either
MVP
Crochet
National
or
League.
DeGrom. I said Crochet and then I flipped it to DeGrom. I'm going to stick with DeGrom. You're sticking with Crochet?
Crochet. National League MVP, I'll go out on a limb a little bit and say Juan Soto.
That would be interesting, and that would be cool because they're both in New York. That would be real cool.
Skeens, I got him winning again.
Who's your
Yeah,
NL
I can
batting
see
champion?
NL batting champion. Ooh, Acuna. Yep, Ronald Acuna. That's what I got for a batting champ. American League, hard to say. Judge can do it again.
I'm gonna go Yordan Alvarez.
Okay.
Yeah, switch it up a little. I think Judge hits a little over 300, but I don't think he'll be hitting that 330 territory. I give Judge about 311, 315, somewhere in that neighborhood.
What people don't understand is that if Judge hits 50 again this year, he'll set the record for most 50 home run seasons.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Pretty
It's
remarkable when you
insane.
consider that Jeter was just fresh on retirement and Judge hit the scene in 17. Well, he hit the scene in 16, but really did his thing in
Cup of
17 as a
coffee.
true rookie.
Yeah. Cup of coffee in 16.
Who's your rookie of the year in the AL this year?
Good question, Anthony.
I'm gonna
Does he
go
qualify?
Trey Savage. I'm gonna go Trey Savage.
Okay.
And I'm gonna keep
Hopefully
it
he
on
gets that.
pitchers. I'm gonna keep it on pitchers. Nolan McClain of New York Mets. I'm got it going that way.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick.
How many games will Devin Williams blow, or will he get it under control?
5 or 6.
That's not nearly as bad. I think they could stomach that. And in the other part of New York, in the Bronx, do you have David Bednar being reliable enough to trust?
Absolutely. I think he's just a bulldog. I felt like ever since they acquired him, like he took that job by the horns, and he was just like, "It's mine, you guys. I got this." Like,
I got a little bit of a Mets hot take. If Devin Williams implodes, I think Luke Weaver's up for the task.
what if they both implode? Do they have a third option?
Clay Holmes, pull him out of the rotation. I don't know. That would be scary if that happens to the Mets, and that could be something that knocks them out of the playoffs again. But
it would be unlikely. But it happened to the Yankees last year, so it's not that out of the question.
So Corey, you saw my World Series prediction. I got the Dodgers beating the Yankees in 6 hard-fought games. What is your prediction for the World Series?
Okay, man, this is tough. I got the Dodgers winning. You know what? I'll also go the Yankees, but I'll just do 7 instead of 6.
Oh, so you really want to rip our hearts out on this one?
I don't want it to. I've never wanted to be more wrong in my life.
No, I hear you, bro. A couple more hot takes. I don't even think they're that hot. I got Ben Rice hitting 30 home runs even. Clay Bellinger with 32. Giancarlo Stanton, 30 even. Aaron Judge hitting 56. Anybody else north of 30 in that lineup? I don't see it. I think Jazz Chisholm hits somewhere between. Maybe Jazz. But I'm going to say Jazz settles on 27-28.
I think Grisham will be like 25-ish.
Yeah, barring poor performance. I have a weird feeling that Grisham might not be even remotely the guy he was last year, but we'll see.
We'll see, man. The good thing is
This
they
was
have
a good
options.
show, man. I'm glad that we were able to hit on everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, next big one where we're going to really be going in on analyzing it all is going to be NFL draft. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But announcements to come for our next show. New York Knicks, I said it on a previous show, they were gifted a lifeline with the unfortunate situation with Cade Cunningham. Best wishes to him. Never want to see that happen to anybody.
Crazy headline I saw on my phone when I first seen that. I was like, what?
Really feel bad. I mean, of course, I want to get any advantage we could on the Pistons, but you don't want it to happen like that. So best wishes to him. I hope that he's able to resume his career, and more importantly, just have a good quality of life. But the things are lining up for the Knicks. So I've been saying it all year. No excuses. And I'm hoping that it's the San Antonio Spurs in the West. I personally think the Knicks match up good with them, but time will reveal that as well. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I think the Spurs are really good, but we'll see.
Yeah, but we whipped them in the Garden. That's why I'm being optimistic, and we also beat them in the NBA Cup. So I would much rather see them than the Lakers or the Thunder. Just my personal opinion. I really like what the Lakers are doing. I think they're dangerous.
They are.
And Luka, man, nobody scorches the Knicks like that guy since Jordan. So that's another thing that kind of worries me, but we'll see how it plays. For Corey, I'm Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Check out our friends at the Sports Corner, Joe Gallagher, as well as Johnny Nast, and also make it a point to check out my co-host albums, Old Man Energy, Volume 1 and 2. 2 is jazzmatical. 1 is a deep dive into the boom bap era of hip hop, which is still very much alive. Check out Idris's albums. Very proud of my co-host, something that I put in steady rotation, really enjoying his music. And it's a life's work. Idris has been a part of hip hop for a very long time. Old school era DJ, master engineer on this project, as well as the beat maker. He did a phenomenal job. Very proud of Idris. And he's also working on he put it out. Also got a Knicks song on there. Not on the album, but another project he did. So that was kind of like a cool hype. Yeah, cool hype song.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. But Corey, you already know this. You're always welcome to come back, and I'm going to be doing a ton of baseball shows. So a goal of mine is to do something almost on the daily. And of course, it produces a lot of good shorts, and we're going to be pushing those out to the fans as well.
Season's coming in a couple of days, man. It's going to be.
Yeah, I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. Who's going to be the first guy to hit one into McCovey Cove? Let me think about this for a moment. I don't know why. I just got a vision of Cody. Yeah, Caballero. I had a feeling that Cody Bellinger is gonna bop one into McCovey Cove. Let's see if that comes to fruition.
I think Aaron Judge could do it.
Oh, Aaron Judge could definitely do it. He's got the oppo power too. I figured.
Wouldn't that be crazy? A right-hander doing that, it would be insane.
Yeah, right-hander doing that is different. That is different, especially in that place where Barry Bonds hit so many home runs. So it would certainly be interesting. Old school New York rivalry. The Giants won in New York and then ultimately did some winning in San Francisco under Bochy. But baseball is back, folks. Wednesday night on Netflix, New York Yankees in San Francisco. I'm out.
Later, guys.